Well, good morning, friends. We're back with hope in the Old Testament. Now, I'm looking at another new story, new chapter, and this is from Jonah, chapter 2 and verse 8. And this morning, we're going to just remind you really quickly about Jonah. He's a reluctant prophet. He's been asked to go to his enemies, not to the people of Israel, the chosen ones. He's actually been asked to go to these enemies of Assyria and to this capital city of Nineveh. And he's not having any of it. He's run away from God. And God does miraculous things to get Jonah's attention and to get Jonah to obey. And rather than just pluck him and drop him, God allows him to run because he's gracious. And as Jonah learns what it means to trust God, we see these verses. And in these verses, we find Jonah is actually in the belly of the fish. Because you got to remember, God had to get him to learn his lesson, but also to go from one end of the Mediterranean all the way to the other end. So transportation. And in this case, God chose to use the belly of a fish, a whale, whatever kind of animal this was, and a leviathan maybe. And God used this creature to transport Jonah. And it's a miracle Jonah was alive at all. Like really, it's 3 days, 3 nights in the belly of this creature. And that's a miracle. God can do that. That's not the big challenge. It's the change of heart that's the big challenge. And Jonah, in this way, has that change of heart. He's still a little reluctant, as we would learn later in the book and the story. But for now, we see this passage in Jonah chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 7 and go to verse 9. When my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came to you in your holy temple. Those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast love. But with the voice of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you what I have vowed I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Now, 2 things there, 3 things perhaps. One is he's got his hope in God. He hasn't given up, even though where he is, his circumstances are, as you look at it from the outside, we would consider this absolutely ridiculous and just crazy. And yet he's putting his hope in God because he really realizes he is alive. He shouldn't be, but he is alive, and God is sustaining him. And now he's going to go on and say, I'm going to praise God. And then his steadfast love. That means God's not giving up. Even when we turn away, like Jonah has run literally the wrong way from what God has asked him to do, God's steadfast love and grace is still there. And he uses such dramatic things to gain our attention, to say, hey, I'm still here. I need you. I want you. And God is just gracious and steadfast in that. His love is never ending. And I love that last line there. Salvation belongs to the Lord. So even when we do the things we're trying to do, we're just not going to get there, especially in our rebellion. But when we're faithful to God, he's faithful and true, and he's dependable, and we can put our hope in him. I hope this encourages your heart today. I hope you have a good one.